Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I want to jump into more of a general topic about our emotions. And like always, the topics we talk about today is for general education purposes only and not meant to be specific mental health advice for any individual. So, what are emotions? Emotions are the fundamental reactions to the world around us. They're just data. Like any other data point we have in our brain, it's information for us to process, to explore, and to choose to either engage or disengage. And that can be challenging. It can be challenging for a lot of individuals when it comes to our emotions. Because there's a few different pieces that can impact how we respond to our emotions. First one is intensity, right? If I'm feeling a very intense emotion all at once, that impacts how I respond to it. That can directly impact how I feel or what I do with my body, my words, or all the above. Um, I'll use a great example of like when I'm scared, I might scream because the intensity of fear, right, is so high that I just respond to that emotion, right? Um, you know, Insert any other emotion inside of that dynamic and can lead to kind of a automatic response for our body. And why does our body do that? Because our body loves to run on autopilot. Our body really enjoys, you know, this thing's happened, this is how I act. This thing happens, this is how I respond. And we can talk about unhealthy versus healthy, how we respond. Healthy ways to respond to emotions are to experience them. Don't just suppress them or repress them. Don't just ignore them and act like they're just going to go away, because that's not true. Ask ourselves, why are we feeling what we're feeling? Inside of our head or even outside, writing it down. Why am I feeling anger right now? Of all the situations that I could be angry, why this? What about this is causing me to feel? And then we always can follow up with, well, what can I do about that? If this thing out of my control, if it's something that's out of my circle of control, like don't have a direct impact on the outcome of that thing, okay, then I need to then find self-soothing strategies. Why? Because if it's outside of my control, I will then just sit in my anger. So I have to like channel that into something more effectively, right? That's a term in my field called sublimation, taking that anger and going for a walk or going to work out or, insert, activity that's going to be kind of soothing to that. If it's inside of my realm, I have to ask myself the questions: is what is going to be helpful or destructive? Let's use anger as a great example. If I'm anger of some injust that has happened in my world around me, I can choose to lash out towards other people. I can choose to scream, yell. I can choose to engage aggressively. But I have to ask myself, what is going to be the consequence of that actions? Is that going to escalate a situation or de-escalate a situation? So inside of that dynamic, we first need to understand, what our emotions are even trying to tell us, right? First is if I'm angry, that means that something's been taken from me, something I feel is unjust or unfair, or I've lost something I truly care about, right? That brings a lot of anger. Sadness, right? Things are missing from my life, whether it be actions that I've engaged in or other people have engaged in that are outside of my morals and values. Whether that be a lack of need fulfillment in some way or some shape or form, or a feeling of loss of some sort, right? A loss of people, things, or experiences that I feel value or important to me, right? The same thing with when it comes to like disgust. That is a feeling of a strong emotional feeling related to a sense of fear or disdain for a certain thing that I might think is threatening and or potentially dangerous to me or other people. Very similar to kind of anxiety, right? The engagement or feelings of anxiousness in engagement with the autonomic nervous system, which is kind of like telling us that thing was a potential threat to me, right? So those are similar. So those are kind of the basics. If you look at the basics, kind of emotions, right? And in happiness or even joy, because that can be like the full fulfillment of our needs and values, or experience that is very congruent with things that we desire or find important to us. So when we look at our emotions, I want to understand those as just data. And if it's inside of my control, I have to ask myself, well, what can I do with this anger that's going to get me closer to what I want or have justice for the thing I want? Inside of a way that I stay inside my morals and values, but I also can engage in that thing where it feels productive and engaging, right? I'll use a great example for anger. If I'm angry that a car, hit my car, and I jump out and I scream and yell and get aggressive, and then that person gets aggressive back, and now we're almost engaging in an altercation, right? If I'm angry, right, I can use that anger to then call the insurance company, to then, be steadfast on that kind of, I was hit, this is what happened, and trying to find restorative justice, right, inside of that dynamic, and using that energy to benefit me in the long run, right? Because then if I get out and we're arguing and fighting and the police show up, now they have two people yelling at each other, and I look like I'm being the aggressor, right? And then again, now that energy is spent, that emotion is spent in a way that's not actually helped me at all. And same thing, we'll use like the aspect of anxiety, right? If I just respond to anxiety, so I run away from the thing that I feel like is a threat, that's going to actually start perpetuating that thing that's causing me anxiety, right? And the other end is not helpful either, jumping in the deep end and then being overwhelmed by our anxiety. So we have to ask ourselves, what small steps can I take to engage in that thing that might be causing me to feel anxious in a way that I feel safe and grounded, right? Whether that be through any kind of skills we know to kind of help soothe our emotions and slowly increase that intensity, right? That's great ways to like process our emotions, understand our emotions, and kind of respond to them effectively. But it all starts with A, recognizing what emotions, B, determining what is in our control, out of our control, and lastly, C is what is a healthy response to that. Again, this isn't going to make you not feel something, but this is going to help us respond to our emotions more effectively. This is going to help us feel better about our responses to emotions. And it's going to help us approach our emotions through a way that we really can better understand ourselves and what our needs. And we can apply this inside the TCG world as in our own life. In the TCG world, like even right now, we see a lot, of frustration online about some very valid points that people have in the community, and asking ourselves, okay, do I have actually control over these things? If I don't, okay, like what things can I do to feel like I have some kind of agency, whether that be like actually, trying to speak to and send messages to the company as a large with the concerns we hold as a community. And if that isn't working, then what activities can I engage in that's going to help me get rid of some of this kind of tension? Because again, it's not about not advocating for yourself. It's not about not supporting each other. It's not about these pieces. It's about what is best for me, the community, and my overall well-being. And the same concept when it comes to our emotions inside of competitive spaces. I've told you in every video I have is understanding our emotions are key to providing the best remedy to them. So I'm going to encourage everyone to maybe take some time in the coming days, reflect on emotion, whether that be emotions like happiness and joy, if that's something that you experience, or anger, sadness, frustration, or a little bit of anxiety. Reflect on it. Take a minute to step back and go, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Is it in my control or not? And if it's not, how do I cope with that? If it is, what adaptive or behaviors can I engage in that are going to help this out versus maybe perpetuate it or increase it, right? Because if I start yelling at you and then you start yelling at me, that's going to increase it, right? It's going to increase my anger. It's not going to decrease my anger. It's going to increase it, which might lead me to act in a way, in the intensity piece, a way that I feel outside of my morals and values. So I encourage everyone to maybe explore themselves a little bit, explore those pieces, and hopefully you can kind of figure out some cool strategies for yourself and how to manage those emotions when they start to get to that high intensity place. I hope you all have a great holiday, and I look forward to speaking with you all at the next event we're going to be at, which I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure there's the Miami TCG Con I'll be at playing and kind of like just dabbling in other things, kind of playing maybe a little cookie run, because that game is a lot of fun right now. So if you see me out and about, please say hi. If not, I'll see you.